The air was thick and cold, smelling of pine and damp earth. It was a routine patrol near Fort Bragg, but what the local deputy found was anything but routine. Hidden beneath a shallow layer of leaves, the body of 24-year-old Clara Hayes lay lifeless. Her disappearance 3 days earlier had been dismissed as a runaway spouse, a common occurrence in the transient world of military life. But this gruesome discovery changed everything. The manner of death suggested rage, a personal, violent act, immediately signaling to investigators that this wasn't a random crime. The quiet military community was about to be ripped apart by a tragedy that started right at home. Sergeant Mark Hayes, Clara's husband, was the immediate prime suspect. He was a decorated soldier, outwardly charming, but his alibi was shaky and his grief seemed manufactured. Detectives noted the lack of genuine emotion, the calculated answers, and the quickness with which he suggested other possibilities. He claimed they had a perfect marriage, but neighbors whispered about loud arguments and late-night shouting matches. The pressure mounted, but Mark was smart. He knew the system, and without a weapon or physical evidence linking him directly to the remote crime scene, the investigators were forced to watch him walk free, maintaining his innocence with a chilling composure. The investigation hit its first snag when Mark pointed the finger at a local transient who had been seen loitering near the base. This provided a convenient red herring, distracting resources and wasting valuable time. Then, a few weeks later, a witness claimed to have seen Clara arguing with a stranger in a nearby town, suggesting she might have been involved in something illicit. The media seized on these narratives, painting Clara as perhaps less than innocent, muddying the waters and allowing Mark to fade temporarily into the background. The initial focus on the husband was diluted, and the case began to lose its immediate urgency. What the public didn't know was the dark history hidden behind the white picket fence of the Hayes military housing. Clara's journals, later recovered by her family, detailed years of escalating emotional and physical abuse. Entries spoke of Mark's explosive temper, his need for control, and veiled threats if she ever tried to leave. One entry, dated just weeks before her death, chillingly read, "He said if I ever try to run, he'll make sure no one ever finds me." These journals painted a clear motive, but motive alone wasn't enough to secure a conviction. The pattern of abuse, however, solidified the detectives' initial suspicion. Mark Hayes was a predator hiding in plain sight. Despite the mounting circumstantial evidence, the shaky alibi, the abuse history, the case stalled. The lack of forensic evidence at the crime scene, coupled with Mark's meticulous cleanup, meant the prosecutor couldn't move forward. Years turned into a decade. Clara Hayes became another cold case file, boxed up and relegated to the basement archives. Mark Hayes left the military, moved across the country, and seemingly started a new life, believing he had successfully outrun justice. The family grieved, feeling the sharp sting of injustice, watching the man they knew was responsible live freely. The breakthrough came 10 years later, not from new technology, but from old-fashioned police work and a renewed commitment to Clara's memory. A cold case detective, reviewing the original evidence logs, noticed a discrepancy. A small, almost microscopic fiber found embedded in Clara's clothing. It was initially dismissed as carpet lint, but modern analysis proved otherwise. The fiber matched the specific synthetic material used in the seat covers of a very rare, customized military vehicle Mark Hayes had owned at the time of the murder. It was the physical link they desperately needed, placing Clara inside Mark's vehicle just hours before her death. With the new forensic evidence, detectives reopened the case and revisited old contacts. This time, they found a key witness who had been too afraid to speak a decade earlier, a former military colleague of Mark's named David. David revealed that on the night of the murder, Mark had asked him for help disposing of some heavy equipment in a remote area near the base. David, suspicious but scared, had refused. His testimony, combined with the fiber evidence, painted a damning picture of Mark's premeditated actions and his attempt to recruit an accomplice immediately after the crime. The accomplice angle was crucial. While David refused to participate, the investigation revealed that Mark had subsequently contacted another soldier, Corporal Jenkins, who had a history of financial trouble. Though Jenkins was never directly charged with murder, evidence strongly suggested he assisted Mark in the final act of moving Clara's body. This revelation exposed the cold, calculated nature of Mark Hayes, not just a man who killed in a fit of rage, but one who immediately sought to cover his tracks using others, leveraging his position and their vulnerabilities to ensure his freedom. It proved the murder was not just a crime of passion, but a planned execution. Mark Hayes was arrested and finally faced trial. The combination of Clara's journals detailing the abuse, the irrefutable fiber evidence, and the testimony of the key witness proved insurmountable. The jury saw through the decorated soldier facade and recognized the violent abuser beneath. After a short deliberation, Mark Hayes was found guilty of first-degree murder. Justice, though delayed by 10 long years, was finally served. For Clara's family, the conviction brought a measure of peace, knowing the man who stole her future would spend the rest of his life behind bars, a stark reminder that even the most calculated killers eventually face the consequences of their darkness.